Hello and welcome to another Daily Muppet. Today's video we're going to talk about the takeover. I do have a little bit of an update from my side on that information. We're going to talk about midfield targets and missing out. We're going to talk about Hojlund, the striker situation, goalkeeper situation, and quite a few more things. So let's get into it. Starting with the takeover, I do have an update that was accurate to me as of yesterday, which was from, of course, my side, where I tend to hear closer to what might be considered the Ineos side. And to be clear on this, this is not information that is given to me to put out. That's not really how these sources work. It's not like someone knows, hey, yeah, we're sending this information over there to be put out as articles and things like that. That's the type of information that's put out to many of the journalists, not to me. That's not how my sources have ever worked, but it tends to be a bit from that side, and so that's why I tend to trust it a little bit more than things I see in articles. But effectively, from my side of the equation, the latest from here is that Ineos are currently remaining fairly calm about the situation. They have not been asked to raise their bid. They have not raised their bid. They've not been told they need to place a competitive bid following Sheikh Jassim's latest one. They don't think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe would be willing, people around this deal would be willing to do another bid anyway. Their consideration, their perspective on it at this point in time is that they've put an acceptable deal forward, and it should be accepted, and it should move forward, and talks are continuing at a normal pace to work through what it would take to get to full agreement anyway, should Rain and Glazers move forward with the deal on the table from Ineos. They have a different perspective about the Qatari bid at this point in time. What they have gathered, or how they view the Qatari bid at this point and the latest, and some of the confusion between Qatar and Rain and such, is that the way that they understand it is that Rain are uncertain about the Qatari bid in that they feel they've been mismatched between what has been said by Qatar, supposed bids by Qatar, and the proof and the evidence of funding and things like that that they have, that they don't necessarily match up with what they are actually putting on the table. That's their perspective. That's what they understand is the issue that Rain is having with Qatar, is that the bid that's on the table, or some of the words and things that have been said out there, don't really match up with the actual financials and things that have been presented, the proof and sources of funding, and all of that. It's not to say that Qatar don't have a lot of money. It's more a matter of, do the individuals and the group presenting the offer from Qatar actually have the backing that they claim to, where they have those resources? And apparently it's been a bit tricky on that front. That's all I know about that. Again, this is coming from one side and one perspective, but there's some evidence out there of that things are not matching up between Qatar, what they're saying and what they're showing to Rain, and what's actually being put on the table and what's being presented. And that's part of what Rain are trying to clear up, so they at least have all the information on the final bids while they're still working forward with the Ineos bid, which, according to the Times as of last week, would take weeks to finish the details on that buyout that would leave the Glazers as minority shareholders. So that seems to be where it is now. From Ineos' perspective, they were remaining calm, and they have not been asked to place any sort of competitive or higher bid to meet, match, or compete with Qatar at this point in time. And from their perspective, they feel they're just continuing through the process now as normal and remain in the same situation that they were at before. So that is the situation there. On the midfield, so I think I talked about this a bit in the last video, that the targets team are sort of narrowing down, and they continue to be narrowing down further. Since my last video and such, I put out that the summer hopes on the midfield may hinge on a bid for Adrian Rabiot to try to agree a deal with him. And it seems that there was some more confirmation of that Fabrizio Romano said, I think yesterday on the United Stand video, that it was a big option, that they were in talks with people around him. I understand that to be the case, that John Murtaugh's pushing kind of on that deal. Alexis McAllister has agreed personal terms with Liverpool. He has a clause in his contract that is, technically it's like a termination rather than a release, and how that usually works is the player has to pay it. It doesn't really make much of a difference, but the amount is higher likely than they're going to get bids for from Liverpool. So there's still some possibility there, but it's minor. I think it was confirmed as well by Romano the other day that United really want him, but they can't do anything due to the takeover, which is what I've been saying for some time. Brighton may sit on this a little bit. They may. I don't know what Brighton will do. I don't know what decisions they're going to want to make. They may sit on this a little bit and wait to see if United and City come in with offers. If they did come in with offers, then it potentially, would change things, because, of course, City and United are likely to be in Champions League. And so, regardless, Alexis McAllister, big wages Liverpool are offering him. Agreed personal terms. Looks more likely to Liverpool. Interest from City and United. It all depends if Brighton will hold out and wait however long it takes for United to potentially be able to make a bid. But that one is narrowing down. Mason Mount, someone that United still have a lot of interest in, that Ten Hag really likes, and there's been some discussions around him. But of course, what's the complication now? Apparently, as I hear it, he's pretty near personal terms with Liverpool too. United and Ten Hag very interested. Obviously, with Pochettino coming in, there's also the potential that he could push to keep Mason Mount around the club, and perhaps that situation changes now. But again, someone United cannot really press too much forward on until they sort things out. Then there's Declan Rice. Once again, they're trying to see, if they can throw money at it, but they can't do it yet. They're currently, as I understand it, working on assessing if he's really committed to Arsenal, or if they have time to put together a competitive bid that they would obviously like to make in lieu of any other signing, because he's the best target available for the midfield. Gabri Vega now being linked to Manchester City, somewhat as expected that was coming. Another one of the names Ten Hag likes, another one of the names United like, another one of the names they can't move on, who has only a 40 million euros release clause. A very nice potential signing who would not necessarily want big wages that could come in. That would be a shame to miss out on that. It feels like a City signing. It feels like a signing they'll make. They usually get those kind of ones coming from Spain and all of that. Anyway, so the way that I see it, let's see here. So, essentially, essentially the way that it's going right now is the midfield targets are kind of being crossed off, eliminated, narrowed down, all of that. And the problem that we have here is you could have a situation where the longer this is dragging, and it is dragging, that McAllister goes to Liverpool, Mount stays at Chelsea or goes to Liverpool because they're looking for two, Rice goes to Arsenal, Vega goes to City, and you're really left with just Rabiot. And that's the direction it's heading. And then you have names like Kudus and Gravenberch, but the United do want two. Let me just put it that way. They do want two, and apparently it would have been someone like Rabiot plus McAllister. They do want two. So anyway, they're discussing it, and Rabiot may be in the end what they get. And personally, I'm not against it. Adrien Rabiot is a good player. He's a good profile. He's very strong on ball. He's very energetic. He can cover the six. He can cover practically any midfield position. If you sign someone like Adrien Rabiot, and then someone like, maybe we can get to someone like Mount or Vega, moving forward, then you do end up with a lot of mixtures of possible team selection for different situation and rotation, which is desperately needed. But it seems like the midfield, as it's dragging out, it's narrowing down to potentially just Adrien Rabiot right now, unless there's some young players out there that are way under the radar that they could bring in that may just not be ready yet. But that could get some minutes this year. So, yeah, that's where it's going. Some other names to keep an eye on, Simikin and defense, though I don't know. I'm still unsure of how it's going to go. They're no closer to selling anybody on defense, so we're going to have to see, what happens there. And then, in addition to that, there's been a lot of talk of Rasmus Hojlund right now, and I mentioned a while back that I wouldn't write it off because I think he's essentially just below the list of the Harry Kane's, Osimhen's, and Ramos's. And yeah, I would keep that one in mind strongly because it's one that they could potentially, look to bring in if they cannot get one of the major strikers. He may not be viewed as ready yet, but perhaps as good, less ready. But there's a lot of interest in him, and he'd be more affordable if they cannot get that Harry Kane deal done, if they cannot get Ramos done, if they cannot get Osimhen done. Then I think that Hojlund is one to definitely keep an eye on, that they could really get and move forward with for sure. So that would be a name I'd definitely not write off. Right now he may even be more realistic just because we don't know about the money and funds and things like that. But I still believe they're going to throw a big offer at Harry Kane before checking out, Osimhen again and Ramos again, and then they may move down the list to Rasmus Hojlund. So that seems to be one that is a legitimate target and a legitimate idea. Last but not least, the Dean Henderson and Forest, with staying up, are looking to make his deal permanent and apparently are interested in a 25 to 30 million purchase for him. And so I think that is a major one to pay attention to. He may ask to go early. It seems like there's some interest in him from making that move early. And if that is the case, then, that could have a significant impact on summer plans. Selling him for 25 to 30 million, with how FFP works, realize a 30 million fee funds a 20 million purchase and 200K a week wages. Now, 20 million a year purchase, which is really a 100 million on a 5-year contract from an FFP perspective. So it would allow United from an FFP perspective to bring in a Diogo Costa at the goalkeeper position, or if they go cheaper, they could buy a David Raya, for example, and a midfielder, all under the FFP of a 30 million Dean Henderson sale. So very much a huge deal if they can get that sale done, if it is decided that he's not going to stick around, and the earlier they do it, the better. Okay, that's what I've got for today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to have some more updates on the takeover and things as we move into the end of the week, but after the Chelsea game and next week, I think you'll expect to see some news, and then end of the month is where we're expecting things to move forward a bit more. So thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on. See you in the next one.